With Sarah Palin. All right, I want to go back to, you said the #1 challenge we have is terrorism.
Yes.
Okay, that America faces.
Yes.
President does not acknowledge we have a war on terrorism. President's saying it's a man-caused disaster. Do you think that the president has a pre-9/11 mentality?
Oh, that's a good question. There are some actions that are being taken today that would make someone assume that is what that mentality is. Instead, we need that 9/12 mentality where we build up our military defenses and we be willing and able to employ everything that we need to employ to keep our homeland safe and to support our allies who are there with us.
Well, like, for example, we pulled away missile defense for the Czech Republic and from Poland. Was that a mistake?
It was a mistake. In fact, missile defense was unfunded from a site up there in Alaska, which I think was quite unfortunate.
You mentioned in the book about how Jimmy Carter was weak as it related to the hostage crisis. We have a crisis now with an Iranian regime with a Holocaust denier as president that wants to annihilate Israel and wipe it off the face of the earth. How do we prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons?
We have allies who are as concerned about Ahmadinejad's actions as we are. We need to be working closer with France and with Britain and start not just considering, but seriously taking steps towards the sanctions that we hear all about, but we never see any actions towards those. Cutting off the imports into Iraq of their refined petroleum products. They're reliant, 40 to 45% of their energy supply is reliant on those imports. We have some control over there, and some of the beneficial international monetary deals that Iraq benefits from, we can start implementing some sanctions there and start really shaking things up and telling Ahmadinejad nobody is going to stand for this.
How dangerous is it to negotiate with a Holocaust denier? How dangerous is it for the United States that our president thinks he can make progress with somebody like Ahmadinejad?
Well, you know, it's another one of those things where it's kind of an I told you so. When our campaign had brought out that Barack Obama had said that he would meet with some of these madmen without any preconditions. Now, I do believe that he has evolved from that position that he took as a candidate, and he realizes now you cannot make such a promise, not when you're dealing with these madmen who do want to destroy America and wipe an ally like Israel off the face of the earth.
Did you hear when the Brzezinski, who worked for Carter, who's now an advisor to Obama, you know, because we got a problem in Israel and the Middle East, you know, talking about shooting Israeli planes if they fly over Iraq to knock out Iranian nuclear facilities. If you were president, what would you do?
Well, there again, in working with our allies, there are other countries that we need to start putting pressure on, like Russia, and make sure that Russia is recognizing, too, that we're not going to put up with those threats of this Iranian regime that is so threatening and so controlling.
What do you think about, how do we, for example, deal with North Korea? How embarrassing is it to you when the president goes to China and has to beg them to continue to support the American economy by buying our treasury bonds? How do you deal with that area of the world?
Well, we have to start cleaning up our own house here in America, and not so much, well, it's going to be twofold, but we can't just look at China and blame them for some kind of trade imbalance. It's also our fault because we have spent so much money. We are so in debt as a country, $11–12 trillion now, that we are becoming more and more beholden to China. And, you know, China is taking advantage of this situation. So until America gets its house in order and we start diminishing the problem that we have of growing this debt, until our president and this Congress recognizes that digging this hole deeper and deeper makes absolutely no sense to the rest of us in America, then our relationship with China is going to be unbalanced. It's going to be nonsensical to many of us, and things have got to change.
Do you think Fort Hood was an act of terrorism?
I certainly do, and I think that there were massive warning flags that were missed all over the place, and I think that was quite unfortunate that, to me, it was a fear of being politically incorrect to not, I'm going to use the word, profile this guy. Profiling in the sense of finding out what his radical beliefs were. The simple things like looking at his business card that had the secret code word for who it was that he actually, well, yeah, that too.
Try to contact Al-Qaeda.
Right. Now, because I use the word profile, I'm going to get clobbered tomorrow morning. The liberals, their heads are just going to be spinning, and they're going to say, she is radical, she is extreme. But I say, profiling in the context of doing whatever we can to save innocent American lives, I'm all for it then.
Yeah, you seem like you've really gotten shy and reserved since I last interviewed you, and you're really afraid to jump into the
That's why I'm just never
controversial
in trouble.
world.
Right.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question about the Kirk interview when we get back and about your future.